Welcome back to the Ultimate Trumpet Podcast. I'm Adam.
And I'm Bella. Adam, today we are wading into one of the most argued about topics in the entire trumpet world, precision valve alignment. Is it real, or is it the most sophisticated snake oil ever sold to trumpet players?
Oh, this is a good one. Because every serious player eventually has this moment. You're at a trade show, or you're reading a forum thread way too late at night, and somebody tells you your valves are out of alignment and that fixing them will absolutely transform your horn.
And the pitch is so seductive, right? It's specific. It's measurable. They talk about thousandths of an inch, port by port, and the price sits in that sneaky zone where it's expensive enough to feel serious, but cheap enough that you can talk yourself into it.
So let's start with what a valve alignment actually is, because I think a lot of players have heard the term without knowing the mechanics. A piston valve has ports, which are passages drilled through the piston. And those ports have to line up with the matching ports in the valve casing in two positions, valve up and valve down.
And here's the surprising part. What determines whether they line up isn't the precision of the brass machining. It's the felt. It's that humble little stack of felt, cork, rubber, or neoprene bumpers under your finger button and inside the top cap.
The felt washer is arguably the least precisely made part on your entire trumpet. Yamaha published a technical article on this, and their numbers are wild. They found that felt thickness within a single production batch can vary by up to 20 thousandths of an inch, and felt keeps compressing over time with use, oil, and moisture.
So put that in perspective. The difference between a medium-large bore Bach and a large bore Bach is 3 thousandths of an inch, and players swear they can feel that difference. Opening a mouthpiece throat one drill size is about 2 thousandths, but Yamaha says valves can be misaligned by 15 to 80 thousandths of an inch. That's potentially more than 20 times bigger than the bore difference everybody obsesses over.
And each valve has 6 ports, 3 valves, so that's 18 separate places on your horn where things can be off. When you lay it out like that, the case for alignment sounds pretty compelling.
It really does. And the shops selling this service have data. Reeves Brass in Los Angeles basically popularized precision alignment decades ago, and they've kept the pre-alignment measurements on every horn that's ever come through their door. Thousands of instruments. And they say every single one arrived out of alignment. Every one. Even brand new horns straight from the factory.
So that's the case for. The errors are real, they're big compared to differences players already claim to feel, and the physics says that steps and ledges inside the bore are not acoustically invisible. That's not a snake oil argument. That's a legitimate mechanical hypothesis.
But. And this is a big but, Adam. The skeptics in this story have serious credentials, too. Let's start with the biggest name of all, Reynolds Schilke himself.
Right. Schilke was arguably the most measurement-obsessed trumpet maker of the 20th century. This is a man who measured everything. And according to the longtime Schilke archive maintained by Jim Donaldson, Schilke's own view was that valve alignment just wasn't that important. He felt the new felts on a fresh horn would settle toward the right position over a few months of playing, and the misalignment in the meantime wasn't significant.
The guy who built his entire brand on acoustical precision did not think this was worth chasing to the thousandth. That should make everybody pause.
And then there's the retired NASA physicist. John Lynch, who repairs and modifies instruments as a hobby, looked at the whole thing from an engineering standpoint and concluded that perfect alignment is not as important as it's often claimed to be. When the person whose day job was spacecraft shrugs at your tolerance argument, that's worth weighing against the shop owner whose living depends on the opposite answer.
There's also a problem hiding inside the word precision itself. A sharp repair tech pointed this out on the forums. Even if you nail the up and down alignment to a 0.5 of an inch, the piston still has a lot of rotational play in the casing. The valve guide just doesn't locate the pistons side to side with anywhere near that accuracy. So you can shim the vertical stroke perfectly and still have the ports skewed rotationally by an amount that completely swamps your correction.
Measuring one axis to laboratory precision while ignoring the other axis. That's an incomplete definition of aligned at best.
And even some techs who sell alignments admit the perception problem. One shop describes measuring to 0.005 of an inch, and then openly says that number can't honestly be converted into something a player can actually distinguish. When the person taking your money volunteers that, believe him.
Okay, Bella, now tell them about the patent. Because this was the find that blew my mind in Michael's research for this episode.
Oh, the patent. So in 1976, an inventor named Donald Novy was granted a United States patent for a brass instrument with deliberately misaligned valve ports. Deliberately. On purpose.
His argument flipped the entire alignment orthodoxy upside down. He said that a carefully engineered series of discontinuities at the ports actually increases the oscillation of the air column and improves response, intonation, and upper register. And he got a second patent in 1989 building on the same idea.
So sit with that for a second. The same physics that's used to sell you a perfect alignment, the idea that discontinuities in the bore change the acoustics, was used by a patented design to justify intentional misalignment. Both camps agree the ports matter. They completely disagree about which direction is better. And the patent office found the misalignment argument credible enough to grant protection twice.
Which connects to something repair techs quietly admit. Sometimes a horn plays worse after being corrected. The little imperfections in your particular horn might be part of why it plays the way it does, and the way it does might be the way you like.
So now we get to the heart of it. What does the actual science say? And Adam, the answer is genuinely shocking.
Nothing. Literally nothing. There is no controlled, blinded, peer-reviewed study anywhere in the published literature that isolates valve alignment as a variable and measures its effect. Not one. Michael went looking, and it does not exist.
And it's not because brass acoustics is an empty field. Researchers have measured trumpet impedance to incredible precision. They've optimized bore shapes by computer. They've even studied how reliable trumpet players' judgments are during blind instrument tests, precisely because the field knows player perception is unreliable. But nobody has ever taken a set of identical trumpets, precisely misaligned half of them, and run players through them blind.
50-plus years after this service was popularized, the strongest evidence for it is testimonials. And testimonials are the one form of evidence that can never lose.
So let's look at those testimonials, because the forums are the closest thing we have to outcome data. And the picture is nothing like the marketing.
The most informative account comes from a player who bought his own alignment tool and worked through his whole stable of horns. 4 or 5 instruments. One was already perfect. Of the rest, 1 or 2 seemed to play better and 1 or 2 played worse. He lived with the changes for a few weeks, never warmed up to them, and reversed some of the work.
Another player got his horn back from a professional job and swore it sounded darker before, and he liked darker better. Meanwhile, over on a brass band forum, a guy who did his own alignments reported significant improvements on almost everything he touched. So the honest tally is, some horns improve, some get worse, some don't change, and nobody can predict which outcome you'll get before you pay.
And here's where it gets personal. Because Michael has his own data point on this. And honestly, it turned out to be the most instructive part of the whole investigation. Years ago, he sent a horn out for a professional alignment. When it came back, the difference was immediate. The horn felt better, cleaner, clearer. Notes centered more easily.
He was a believer.
He was a believer. And then, over the next couple of months, the effect just faded. Not dramatically, Not on any particular Tuesday. The horn just gradually went back to feeling normal.
And that fade is the single most diagnostic thing in this whole story, because there are exactly two explanations, and they point in opposite directions. Explanation 1. The felt settled. The alignment materials compressed or bedded in, and the geometry physically drifted back toward where it started. Under that reading, the improvement was real, and it wore off.
Explanation 2. He adapted. The alignment changed how the horn felt. His ears and chops registered novelty as improvement, and over 2 months his whole playing system recalibrated to the new baseline until it just felt like his horn again. Under that reading, the horn may never have sounded different to anyone, possibly not even to him.
And from inside your own head, those two explanations are completely indistinguishable. No recording, no practice journal, nothing separates felt compression from perceptual adaptation after the fact.
But notice what his experience does rule out. The permanent, durable transformation the marketing promises. If a precision alignment were a lasting fix with lasting benefits, the improvement should have held. It didn't. Either the fix degraded or the perception did, and neither one of those is what's printed on the brochure.
So, the verdict. Truth or snake oil? And the honest answer has 3 parts. First, it is not snake oil in the classic sense. Snake oil has no plausible mechanism. This has a real one. The misalignments exist, they're measured, they're big, and the physics of bore discontinuities is real. Anyone who says the whole thing is fake is overclaiming just as badly as the marketing.
Second, it is not proven, and the industry's confidence wildly outruns its evidence. 0 controlled tests in 50 years, a granted patent arguing the opposite. Schilke himself and a NASA physicist calling the concern overrated. A rotational play problem the word precision quietly ignores. And a player record that reads like a coin flip.
And third, the practical advice writes itself. If your felts are pulverized or a specific valve combination has always felt choked, an alignment addresses a real mechanical condition. That's maintenance, not magic. And replacing degraded felt with stable materials is defensible on durability alone. But if your horn plays well and someone tells you it's secretly handicapped by invisible thousandths that only their instruments can detect, hold on to your wallet.
Because the improvement may not come, it may not last, and your horn might actually come back worse. The one guaranteed result is that it'll feel different for a while. Whether different was ever better is a question the trumpet world has spent 50 years declining to test.
The full article with every source, the patent numbers, the forum threads, and all the measurements is up now in studio notes at trumpetstudio.com. And while you're thinking about what actually makes a difference in your playing, here's a hint. It's not thousandths of an inch. It's what you do every single day.
Which is why Michael Droste put 50 years of playing and teaching into 3 books that will do more for your sound than any alignment ever could. The ultimate warm-up book for trumpet builds the daily foundation. The ultimate technical study for trumpet takes your fingers and flexibility to the next level. And the ultimate wedding book for trumpet gets you gig-ready with the music people actually hire trumpet players to perform. All 3 are available at trumpetstudio.com.
And if you haven't yet, check out the Trumpet Studio app with the animated fingering chart with sound, the full library, and every episode of this podcast built right in. If this show has helped your playing, please take 10 seconds and leave us a rating on the App Store or wherever you listen. It genuinely helps other trumpet players find us.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Keep your felts fresh, keep your skepticism handy, and remember, the best upgrade for your trumpet has always been the player holding it. Now go practice.